Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Beth?
Brian?
And Kirsten.
So we are keeping the tradition and doing a recap of the D23 Fan Expo. First initial impressions, guys. How are we feeling?
It
Meh
was
as well.
It was a meh year for sure.
I feel underwhelmed.
Yeah. I feel like the most exciting things that happened were like announcements of meet and greets, and I feel like that's pretty sad.
Yeah, I feel like when an animatronic is the thing that's like officially the most exciting part of your announcements for Disney World only, then
Yeah.
like that's lame. Like you need to think about your life choices.
Honestly, I think the most, like, it's weird because maybe this just wasn't the year for Disney World, right? Like, it was maybe a better year for, like, cruising. I think cruising's the panel that won out of this year. Well, the section of the parks panel that won this year. But I don't know. Maybe it'll just be better in 2 years. Such a weird statement.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, we're going to, just because this is all news and whatnot, we're going to forego actual news this week and just kind of go down bit by bit and see what we've got, what's coming, and just initial thoughts on it. Did everybody watch the panel itself? Or did you guys just read a recap? I know Kirsten and I did because we were live reacting in Discord with each other.
I just read recaps.
Fun little thing that I actually found out the other day that kind of ties into watching it. Apparently, they posted the first 2 days of the panel on Disney Plus. I know when it initially went up, day 3 wasn't up there, but I don't know if it's there now.
Well, that's an effective use of their streaming platform.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. Super niche, but kind of neat.
Yeah.
But diving into the news, do we want to go over everything or just Disney World?
I think we should start with Disney World and then maybe just do a quick overview of everything else.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I know there was some stuff that kind of relates, like the Princess and the Frog stuff, which we'll probably touch on. But let's start at the top of this list. I posted the list that I'm looking at, which is Coaster 101 in our show notes if you guys want to follow along. But the first thing that we had on here for Disney World was that they're going to be debuting a new nighttime spectacular for Epcot starting next year to replace Harmonious. In the interim, apparently, they're also going to be running Epcot Forever, which is a weird choice, but I didn't know that this show could flop as hard as it did.
Yeah. I know I've said this before, but it was pretty bad when one time we were talking about Harmonious, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen it yet. And I was like, wait, yeah, I did. I did see it.
The one takeaway that's kind of funny out of this, and I think I'm going to try to spin everything to a positive today because there was a lot of weird things that could be taken as a negative, and after reflection, I feel a little bit more positive about them. But the one thing that somebody pointed out to me was that there's also a rumor circulating that they're going to be breaking down the barges from Harmonious, and if anything, that just means that they're not committing to the sunk cost fallacy, right? Like Disney is at least saying, okay, this failed, they're getting rid of it, and that's that.
Well, that's a blessing in and of itself if they get rid of the barges.
Yeah. I mean,
just simply getting rid of those will improve Epcot as a whole.
Yeah, that's really appalling to me. Like for a company that started out so focused on show and like they still talk about show, like they care about it, like they don't have construction walls up everywhere. And like you can't see the back of Star Wars when you drive by. Like That's so ugly. Like, it's so
Yeah.
bad. I mean, if they're really going to spend the money on it, like I said, they should have done some weird 360 circle thing, like a reverse Canada Vision, whatever, and had it to where it can sink underwater and like come out. I don't even know if that's possible, but surely they can make it possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or just like have barges that are a manageable size that they can like move through that whatever raised bridge thing,
Or,
and then they just put them in right before the show starts.
You know, it would be even cheaper, just like making the bridge taller.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, hello. I mean,
I don't know. It's surprising that this whole thing happened the way that it did. Like, there's just so much that you could say that went wrong with this show.
They'll just say that Harmonious was for the 50th anniversary and it was a limited time offering and it's going bye-bye now.
Probably, honestly, that would not be surprising to me in the slightest bit if they.
They're like, oh no, that's always what we intended with it, was for it to go away after the 50th.
Mm-hmm. I'm just hoping
also,
that,
can I just say, I think it's really disingenuous. Like, I don't know, this is, of course, me complaining, but Josh D'Amaro, I think it's so intentional that they had him up there doing it because everybody loves Josh D'Amaro, and I think that they knew if they had Paycheck up there giving all these announcements, people would have been like pissed in the moment. But at least with Josh D'Amaro, they get him up there. He's like, yay, energetic, smiley, cute, not bald, you know, whatever. But then afterwards, you're like, wait, I just got like,
yeah.
You know? So I don't know. I mean, it's smart of them, but also it just annoys me that everybody's like such a big fan of Josh when I think he's like got to be complacent in all this. He wouldn't be where he is if he, you know, I don't know. I think he gets a lot of leeway that he probably shouldn't get in reality.
I was, again, this is me trying to do a positive spin on it, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I almost wonder, like, what the later half of, like, Chapek's tenure is going to be, right? Because we know him to be kind of frugal from when he was in charge of the parks and all of that, and that's kind of the mentality that a lot of Disney fans put on him, but he also did take over at possibly the worst possible time to take over. So I feel like his frugalness is kind of what they needed. I don't think he's great or anything, but I'm interested to see how these next couple of years pay out, where like they're getting better returns, right? Like, and now is going to be the chance to see what actually becomes and if we should hate him as much as we do.
I feel like you're being a little generous calling him frugal.
Yeah.
Frugal was the only word that came to mind.
It's not so much, in my opinion, that he's frugal because he is fine with spending money. He just wants to make it all back and then like exponentially, you know, pay out the profits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, like, look compared to Michael Eisner, who stepped in at a time when Disney was not doing well financially. You know, I mean, granted, he had his faults, but he, like, took some shots and was at least doing some different stuff. And, yeah.
Right. I mean, he almost killed the company, but at least he was trying to do something.
Right.
But I also think the difference between that is Michael Eisner also had Frank Wells. So, like, there was somebody there. Like, Chapek doesn't really have that. And I would be interested to see what would happen if they put somebody in that place where they could maybe balance him out, but I don't think we'll ever get that. So this is my, like, I kind of want to see what happens over the next couple of years to see if, like, this is actually who he is, or if this is just, like, maybe this is the picture we've painted of him kind of thing. Not that, again, I'm not giving him any credit that he doesn't, you know, deserve, because I still don't necessarily like the decisions he's made, but I'm curious.
Side note, didn't he get booed when he came on stage?
He did. So it was weird, and we had this discussion in the Discord when it was going up, but there were videos on Twitter going around that sounded like he was being booed, and I thought it sounded like he was being booed, but honestly, when you listen to it on the stream, you can't hear anything, and people were saying they cut the audio, which could be.
Yeah, that would make sense. They're like, we don't want to let people relive that moment. But that's honestly the only reason I kind of want to watch the recap.
There was
like on Twitter.
What was it?
Okay.
Yeah, you can definitely find it on Twitter, and that's the funny thing that I was kind of like, either all of these cameras are near people that are purposely booing them, they're just being loud, because it was like, I don't know. I shared it, and I'll find the link for it, but you definitely can hear people booing him.
Yeah, I don't know. On one hand, it kind of makes me feel like, oh, that is sad. You know, he's still a human being. But then on the other hand, I'm like, nah, he sucks. He earned it.
Who did the Parks panel 2 years ago? Was it him or was it Iger?
I think it was him.
Because it was that weird overlap where there was like 2 CEOs, wasn't it?
Right. Or they were like, it had been announced that he was stepping into Iger's place, but he hadn't like officially done it yet. So it was like they were kind of letting him take the reins, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was obviously a really memorable one too.
Yeah, that was, I don't know.
Sorry. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to try to be like you, Mario, and be more positive.
I'm going to not try to be more positive.
I'm going to try to spin everything at least semi-positive.
Everybody needs
tonight.
a Simon on their show.
There are some things I definitely can't be positive about, but we'll get to those. The next
one is a positive.
The next one is wild to me, guys, because this is one that I don't think they need to take as long as they are on it. But a Figment meet and greet is going to be coming at the end of next year.
Does it take a year to make this costume that probably already exists in some form?
It is
they
going
have
to
to spread things out, obviously. Like,
it is absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Kirsten.
How are they going to get weirdos like people who are obsessed with Figment to like come?
Rude.
It is absolutely going to kill me if they debut the old costume. That's the part that's going to be so funny to me. If this costume comes out and it's the one from like the 80s.
Okay, with like the sweater?
Yes.
Like if they were having his meet and greet coincide with the revamp of the ride or something, that would make sense for it to take that long.
Maybe they will.
That is the part that's absolutely bonkers to me, you guys, because did anybody else see the things online about people were asking Tony Baxter at D23 if he was going to come back for Journey to Imagination? Like, there was a good number of people that met him there that were specifically asking him about the ride. And he was like, well, I think this is a good thing because this means that maybe they're going to start, like, giving it some love. Like, they're acknowledging the fact that Figment is a character that people like, which I like that spin on it. But at the same time, people were like, well, do you have any involvement in, like, the ride coming up? Because I know a couple of years ago you said that you would love to come back for that. And he was like, one, I have no involvement, but if Disney asked, I would specifically come back to do that. And he's like, I would hope that they would, but I've heard nothing. So it's like, I feel like that window is not big enough for them to just announce that they're redoing it. But at the same time, it's so far from just a costume.
Yeah.
What was that?
He's also not going to tell people the truth.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
And I also think when you have a, relatively lackluster D23, if that was in the works, why wouldn't they have announced it?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're holding it specifically for, like, oh, Figment's back, let's test to see how he is. Like, that could be a possibility. Like, the ride doesn't get a lot of attention, but maybe the Figment meet and greet will. So...
Here's the thing, is that, like, if they debuted this Figment meet and greet tomorrow, the line would be hours long. Like, they know that he's a popular character. People are going to wait in line. It's going to be like, in my opinion, I think it's going to be like Jack and Sally at Not So Scary. It's like,
100%.
It's something that you wait hours in line to do. So knowing that, I don't understand why they don't think, oh, let's put some money into Journey into Imagination. And then people will wait hours in line for that too.
I also have this theory that there is so much of a sunk budget into Epcot right now that maybe they just don't have the money to do it.
That's true.
So
they have the money. They just want to give it to their shareholders. Like, let's
yeah. Maybe it's because they already have so much construction going on. They're like, let's get some of this done before we start working on other things.
Right.
Now, I, again, didn't watch this live. I saw the, the recaps, did they give much information about this? Because from the recap I watched, it was sounding like it was not going to be like a costume character. I was thinking this was going to be like with a small animatronic type meet and greet.
Oh, interesting. They didn't give any of that info.
I thought you were about to say a
Which-
small animal, and I'm like,
Yeah, they captured a real dragon.
Are we gonna
Real
relive
dragon.
Are we gonna relive the Eric Idle animated little?
Oh my god.
But honestly, because I was thinking if they're going to take a year to develop this, if it was just a costume character, surely they wouldn't need to do that, right? That's why I was thinking it was going to be something more.
Interesting.
I like it.
And it kind of coincides with some of the other announcements that they made about meet and greets too. But I don't know. They didn't really say anything. They made a big deal out of Figment, and then they were like, by the way, we know this character is well loved. We know that people adore him. So, meet and greet. And it was like the most anticlimactic thing.
Yeah.
That's a bad. That is.
They
that's
did like even a
that's like
slideshow.
Scott Potts level build up.
Yes, yes, it was. They even did like a slideshow of people with like Figment merch and like people dressed up for and as Figment. Like I don't know, it was just so bizarre.
So, in the realm of meet and greets, we are not confirmed to be getting Grogu and Mando at this time.
Correct.
Right? That's only Disneyland?
So, yes, the way that it was worded at the panel was that they were coming to Disneyland because that's the only place that they talked about it, but I can't imagine that we're far off from it.
They have to, right?
Yeah.
I hope
feel
that they keep it as like a roaming character, like they do with the rest of the characters in Galaxy's Edge, because that I feel like that would be a lot cooler, first of all, and second of all, this would also be an hours-long wait.
So I have a question with like kind of related to this for you guys, because I feel like my original thought was like, oh, cool, I get it. I get why they're doing it, but also it kind of like takes away from what they wanted Galaxy's Edge to be with its own like living land and its own secluded timeline, right?
Yeah.
How long before Star Cruiser starts to get those like, broken timeline characters?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I like what they were trying to do with Galaxy's Edge, making it like its own storyline, but they didn't put enough, I guess, marketing, for lack of a better term, into it for people to understand that it was, because they had like, oh, here's some characters that you recognize, and here's characters that you don't recognize.
Right.
And they're like, who is that?
Right. And it also feels like it's the reason I bring that up specifically is because I feel like Galaxy's Edge, it's easier to sell the idea that these are characters you love, right? Because it's in the parks, it's not specifically for Star Wars fans. But we've already talked about like how long is the longevity of Star Cruiser? Like how long is the average Star Wars fan going to pay that amount of money to go do a thing that's like specifically for them? And then, like when is the return of we have to start tailoring to the casual fan?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to be able to start catering to the casual fan in Star Cruiser until the price is significantly reduced.
Right.
So I feel like right now they can do whatever they want in Star Cruiser, and people are like, oh, okay, cool, because I'm like a hardcore Star Wars fan. I'm going to pay it. And that's why I feel like those characters that are exclusive to Star Cruiser work there, because that's who they're catering toward. They're catering towards people who already know everything there is to know about Star Wars. So they're like, here's new stuff that you don't know already. Yeah. But like I said, I don't feel like that you're really going to get a whole lot of, I don't know, mainstream stuff at Star Cruiser until the price is reduced.
That's fair. It was just a casual thought of like, I wonder how long until that changes too.
Yeah.
But speaking of other things at Walt Disney World, this is a weird one, but they talked about Journey of Water, and they also mentioned Communicore Hall and Communicore Plaza, which definitely weren't the names of the things that we were going to be getting in Place of Interventions before, right? Like, they weren't going back to Communicore until recently.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Epcot is still trying to figure out who she is.
That's fair. But Journey of Water looks cool. I mean, they also
Yeah.
debuted at 16-foot tall Tafiti for
Yeah,
this.
that's
Like,
gonna. I'm excited about that. What a
I think it's
photo
gonna
op!
look cool there.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
Yeah,
already
that is
so
gonna
much
be
other
cool.
green space they're trying to add. I think that'll be a nice touch.
Yeah, for sure. They better double down on the green paint in that Florida sun. She's gonna be looking bleached real quick.
Yep.
Oh boy. And then speaking of other things that we already knew about, Tron is going to be opening in spring of 2023, which also feels incredibly late.
My prediction is that they're going to do it like a month after the 50th celebration is over to have another event for people to come for.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I just love this sentence that says it will open in spring 2023 after originally being announced at D23 2017, which was the original D23 that was our first episode of this podcast.
Oh man.
That gives me vibes of like whenever I first started working there and they had just started the Fantasyland expansion, and then like
Oh my
whenever I
gosh.
visited years later and finally rode Mine Train, which was like the last ride to open. It was like a real
They
sense of
sure are
closure.
taking their time.
They're so
lately.
slow. Like that roller coaster has been announced. Like I grew a whole kid, like a whole
That's true.
You know,
That's a crazy way to look at it, but yeah.
So
yeah,
they don't really have any good excuse.
Right.
Yeah. And then I guess the last thing that we have officially confirmed, probably my favorite thing that was confirmed for this, which says a lot, but we are finally, all of these years later, getting the Hatbox Ghost in Florida in 2023.
Yeah, that
and my
is very
question
exciting.
Is, where is this going?
Where's he gonna go?
That scene is super tight, and I feel like they're gonna have to move stuff around up there.
Yeah, I mean,
say it with me. Not my problem.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true.
That's fair.
Man.
But I am pretty excited.
This feels weird that it took this long, but I kind of get it. It was an easy thing to plug.
Because that's like such a Disneyland lore thing, you know. But next, can they please bring the Haunted Mansion holiday?
Yes, please.
Never gonna happen.
One step at a time.
I thought you were being
I was about to
positive.
say, maybe because they're willing to make this change, they'll be willing to make other changes.
That's the one that I will not be positive on. I do not see that ever happening.
I don't know. I know it would take a lot of work, but, you know, I'm willing to have a few people that are on their once-in-a-lifetime trip not be able to ride Haunted Mansion so that I can ride Haunted Mansion Holiday.
How generous of you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we got to make some sacrifices here.
Yeah, I will also sacrifice those people's vacations.
I don't think we're alone in this. I feel like a lot of people would sacrifice other people's vacations.
Also, if it's their once-in-a-lifetime trip, like, do they even really care about Haunted Mansion? Let's be realistic.
Right. Really. This is a Haunted Mansion, I feel like, at its core, is a ride for the hardcore Disney fan. Not the once-in-a-lifetime people. Not the casual park goer.
They're not even going to understand, like, the humor. I don't know. Maybe in a minute we can get Eli to come do the speech because he has it memorized.
Oh my gosh, please. That would make
And
my
it's his
day.
favorite thing.
Awesome.
We're going next year with one of his friends, you know, and he was telling his friend, he's like, we're going to Disney World next year with Arden and I'm going to introduce her to the Haunted Mansion.
Oh.
I feel like Eli is the only example of someone that I would be okay with them like pantomiming the pre-show.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to hear you adults doing it, but I would be okay with Eli doing it.
That's like his favorite behind the attractions episode. He's like, I only like Willie Crump for his haunted mansion skills. I mean, he's very into it.
And then the last little section, before we talk about the things that they talked about, I want to ask what your thoughts were on how this was as an overall concept. Because towards the end of our Disney World discussion, Josh decided to bring out 2 Imagineers and Blue Sky for the next 20 minutes, which is just a wild thing to say.
I thought that they were going to do something like this because I thought that they were going to have not as much, like in development stuff to talk about. So I kind of imagined they were going to have to try to fill the space with something. I'm glad that we're getting this kind of like glimpse into the process. And a lot of these ideas sounded pretty cool.
Do you think that they did this though to try and like test the waters of other of ideas?
Oh, it absolutely
100%.
was.
I think it was market research at its finest.
Yes.
Yeah, live market research, like in a broad field. But I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea of doing it like that because then we get some like interesting thoughts at the same time as we're getting like to react to stuff and say our piece on the into the void of the internet. Yeah.
Honestly, it was weird because at first I hated it. Like I remember while we were watching it, everybody was freaking out at the concepts, and it was like, you have to remember that none of this is in the works.
Right.
Like, that was the big thing that I kept saying was like, we have to remember that this isn't
I
stuff
think
that's
you were
actually being
still
worked on.
kind of into it. I think there were some other Debbie Downers, and I was like just trying to have 1 hour of happiness.
I absolutely was.
Did you find it, Kirsten? Did you find that happiness?
No, because everybody on the Discord was ruining my happiness. It's not confirmed. Well, be quiet and leave me alone for 2 minutes, okay? I don't get a lot of joy in my life.
So my original thought, like I was saying, I kept saying like, oh, it's nothing that's confirmed. It's nothing that's confirmed. But I think like there was one thing that really stuck out to me in terms of these Blue Sky things, and it was the way that it was presented that made me really think like, oh, they actually are listening. And that was kind of my takeaway, was like, yeah, they're blue skying stuff and they're using it as market research and they're gauging crowd reactions. And like that room was hyped because everything that they were saying is everything that everybody online has been saying for how long now. But the fact that when they started talking about, like, to skip ahead, the idea of maybe a villain's land, the specific word was, and this is something that we see you guys talking about all the time. And to me, that was like a very, oh, they are actually hearing what people want kind of moment. And that's kind of where my positive spin on everything's been coming from, is just like, if nothing else, I'm taking away from this D23 panel that like a lot of these things are things that people actually wanted, and the fact that Disney is willing to say, like, we hear that you want them, and we may try to do them, we may not, I think that's enough for me.
I don't know, to put a negative spin on that, I feel like we know they hear everything we want, and most of the time they just choose not to care. So.
Well, I will give you that 100%, because it seems like the only thing that they're willing to give on is the concepts of things, right? Like the things that they put in the parks. But, a lot of people have said that Genie Plus is confusing and they're not really making steps to do that. A lot of people hate the parks reservation systems and they're not willing to get rid of those yet. I think those are here to stay, but I don't know. I think we lost you for a second, Kirsten.
Yeah, my computer fell asleep. I wasn't moving my hand enough.
That's okay. I basically said I will give you that I think the biggest thing that I can take away from that, at least from a negative end, is like it seems like they're listening to what they want to listen to, right? Like you have the ideas and concepts and that stuff that they're like, oh yeah, that's stuff we can, it's not going to sacrifice the bottom line. If anything, it's going to get more people to come. But at the same time, they have these systems that people don't like and they've been vocal about, and they're not doing anything about it.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's good. I just hope that it doesn't take 15 years.
Oh, it will.
I mean, their building track record, even before the pandemic, it's really getting pretty sad. Like, if you look at what Universal's doing in the same amount of time, like, I mean, it's not good.
So you want to discuss the blue skies they talked about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one that they mentioned was the possibility of giving some life to Animal Kingdom. And first, before we even dive into the concepts, like, I was not very shocked that we were talking about this, but I was more shocked that there was nothing specifically in the works for a section of the park that they're starting to dismantle.
Starting to. I feel like they're almost done with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Like, I would be happy if they were like, oh, okay, so in 5 years, we're going to start working on Chester and Hester, but we're going to demolish it now. I would be like, hey, sounds good.
Wow.
So,
Hater.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's so bad. Like, I'm so glad they're talking about it, but also it does make me fear for the future of dinosaur.
Yes.
While we're going through the concepts too, I also want to, like, try to gauge what we think is most likely to take that space, because I think that'll be a fun little thought discussion. But the two that they had talked about, and honestly, both of these would kill Dinosaur in an instant, so sorry, Kirsten. You have a Zootopia land basically identical to the one in Shanghai and a Moana themed land.
I'm just saying, like, listen, I love Rafiki's as much as the next person, but why are they not talking about that? Like, nobody is going up there. It's a completely, like, empty part of the park most of the time. Give them a reason to go up there.
I think because it's not an eyesore. Like, even
True.
if you like Dino Land or Chester and Hester's, like, the fact that they have started to dismantle Chester and Hester's means they have to move on that before, Rafiki's. That being out of the way, they can just say forget it, and that's just not a part of the park for like 5 years.
Yeah. I just feel like that Zootopia would work better over there. And if they put it where Dinosaur is, then they're not going to put it over there. And then what are they going to do with that?
Kirsten, how do you feel about it? Because I know you've been very vocal about wanting a Zootopia land.
Yeah, but I will say I do think that, like, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me, but I do understand the viewpoint a lot of people have about not wanting Zootopia in Animal Kingdom. Like, it makes sense. I think they're going to have to be very careful about how they do it. Yeah. I think there's a way to do it and make it okay, but I think it could be dangerous, because I do love that the focus of Animal Kingdom is on conservation and, like, the environment, and I don't want that to just be taken over with IP, like how Epcot is currently being kind of, so I see both sides, but I do think Zootopia has, like, such potential for, like, just really cool interactive edutainment too.
Yeah.
I also think people are riding on the fact that Joe Grody said Zootopia wouldn't fit in Animal Kingdom because the animals are proxies for humans facing human issues.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
I think, like, the big thing that we've talked about before, like, I love Kirsten's idea for, like, diving into the biomes and stuff. Like, that would work, I think. But I think if they just straight up put a Zootopia land in Animal Kingdom, it would have to have a lot of thought and care placed into it.
That's the thing. I don't know if I would want to give up the amount of space in Animal Kingdom that it would take to really do Zootopia right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want just a gazelle ride. Like, if they're going to do it, I want them to do it with the biome. Like, that, it's just so cool. But
like a train ride.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that Rafiki's Planet Watch makes way more sense, but I also see, like, that they feel like they have to get rid of that parking lot.
Yeah, I agree that there's just not enough space there to do a whole lot of really anything. So I don't feel like this big grand world of Zootopia is the best pick for that spot.
I also feel like, I mean, not to jump to the next one, but I also feel like Moana is a worse pick. Like, these were the two that I'm happy they started with, because I immediately was, like, turned off by the idea of them blue skying with these two.
Yeah.
It was wildly funny because they were like, Animal Kingdom. I was like, yes, it needs it. And then they were like, Zootopia. I was like, okay, maybe. And then they said Moana, and I was like, nope, can't get behind that one.
Yeah, because I mean, especially since they already are going to have a Moana section in Epcot, it feels like double time.
It does feel strange.
Yes. Yeah, it feels like repetitive. And also, it's like, what's the conservation message here? It's like a weird, like, mythical conservation message about not stealing the heart of Te Fiti. Like, what do they even do with that?
I feel like they have so many movies that are like focused on or involve animals in a way more powerful way than Moana. Like, use those, man.
It's like animal adjacent. It's not even animal focused of a movie.
Yeah.
I think they should put, honestly, if I had my way, if I were in charge, they would do a Beastly Kingdom section where Chester and Hester's is, like originally planned. And then they could do Moana, or they could do Zootopia at Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best of all worlds.
Not to double down on my statement of, like, they're listening to us, but the one thing that's kind of funny about this, and I was thinking about this with the next one, is that it feels like they're listening, but they're not listening to exact details. Like, give us a Zootopia land. I've heard people say in Animal Kingdom, yeah, perfect, fine, whatever. Moana, I mean, they know people like the movie, but Animal Kingdom feels like a weird fit. And then moving to the next one, they talked about this Beyond Big Thunder Mountain at Magic Kingdom. And the first idea that they dropped was Coco, which, I mean, we've talked about replacing Grand Fiesta Tour with Coco, and I've seen that online a couple times too, that, like, just drop Coco in there. It feels like giving him a whole land in Magic Kingdom is a choice.
Yeah. I mean, as the only person in the world who wasn't like a massive Coco fan, cool, I guess.
Well, I like Coco, but I also don't want to see any movie like occupy an entire land in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're going to do that anywhere, do it in Hollywood Studios. That's the other thing that I'm like, is just wild to me, is that a lot of these speculative whole land based on movies, we have this whole park that we've started to dedicate to that. Why are we doing that elsewhere?
And, like, one of my favorite things about Magic Kingdom is how they, like, even if they're using IP, they can kind of blend different IPs together into a single area. And I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to fit with the whole theme of Magic Kingdom to just have, like, Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Coco Land. Like, that doesn't, I don't know. It's weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even, like, the ones that are a little bit more, I guess, tied to the IP that they're really trying to push in there, have those elements of, like, trying to blend cohesion. Because Storybook Circus, you know, as much as it does have Mickey and Friends, like, there was no reason other than the fact that they wanted to keep Dumbo that land got its own land.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I do think they need to find a solution, because now that I feel like when we were kids, you know, the Renaissance and all that, it was, all of these movies were very princess focused, right? And so Fantasyland encompasses all of that, you know, but now the movies, I think, are so different than they were then, that they can't just have like this one tidy land that all of the new IP fits in.
Yeah, that's true. The other one that they had suggested was Encanto. And this is weird because, like, I liked that movie a good bit, and I feel like having your own land themed around Encanto is cool in theory, but if you think about it, that movie took place in a house.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was like the coolest house ever.
And
Yeah,
also,
but-
I feel like it's trendy right now, and I'm sorry, and it was fine, but I was not the biggest fan. So to me, it doesn't feel like it's going to stand the test of time.
I
Yeah.
do think, like, I'm just fine on Encanto the movie, but I do think like the house and that potential for you open a door and there's like an entire something behind the door, like that was the coolest part of the movie for me.
Yeah,
was,
I
like,
guess that's
his
fair.
whole jungle room, and like, I mean, that was awesome. Like her whole giant like forest flower room, like that was definitely the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I would be interested to see if they play into that, because that could be cool, but at the same time, it depends on them to do something right.
Mhm.
And then the other big one was the villains themed area, which we kind of talked about too. I feel like this is the big thing of like, we listened, but we didn't listen close, even though I said that this was the point that made me realize that like they are actually listening. Because nobody's
Yeah.
talked about this as a land. Everybody's talked about this as a park.
Exactly. I mean, this is one of the few.
I think it's a cop out.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few ideas that they projected, or or presented, that I would be okay with, is like having its own land in Magic Kingdom and still kind of being able to fit in there. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I want the entire park, just like everybody else.
I think Magic Kingdom would be the place to do it if they do it.
Mhm.
But I think that, like, I don't know. I don't. It would be better as a land. I also am now realizing that we forgot to do what I said I wanted to do. How likely do we think Zootopia or Moana is going to be to come to Animal Kingdom before we do that for Magic Kingdom? I think
Zootopia,
Zootopia over Moana.
80%.
Yeah. Like an 80-20.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. How... I think we even break out the villains section because that feels like it's unfair, but Coco versus Encanto for Magic Kingdom.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't feel like it's very likely that they do those. I don't-
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say they're both probably like a 20% that they happen.
I mean,
I would give
they're-
Encanto a higher percentage just because I think it has more potential for sequels, and like a Disney Plus show or something like that. Whereas I think Coco was a lot more of a one-time story.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
also a lot more recency bias with Encanto too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sucks because I don't know. I feel like Coco is objectively better.
I wouldn't disagree, but I think the applause would have been bigger and it would have been greenlit faster if they had said, "Hey, we're gonna take Grand Fiesta Tour and put Coco in there," and then showed us like a little bit better of concept art.
Also,
Yeah.
as a parent of a small child, I can tell you, Encanto, like kids,
It's
will
got
eat
the
that up.
earworms.
I mean, kids will eat that up. Like my niece is still obsessed with Isabella, like still, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's been a long time. Eli's kind of over it, but we don't talk about Bruno is still like the rave song of kindergarten.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh man.
I also think that as cool of a movie as Coco was, there's a lot more potential for that to actually be terrifying to kids, right?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I feel like kids are used like they're not scary skeletons, you know.
No, but-
they're
Them kids
The-
need to toughen up.
I mean, honestly, I hate to be like that too, but I agree. Like if that kind of skeleton is scary, then what
Yeah, I mean, yes.
what does your kid do during Halloween when
Yeah,
they're
your
literal
kid's gonna
skeletons
run
like sitting on
into-
porches and stuff?
Exactly.
As
Yes,
a person
that's right.
who was scared of Haunted Mansion until I was like 20, I'm offended.
Is that a true story?
Yes, I hated Haunted Mansion, and I
She's
was
told us that
terrified,
before.
and I didn't like it until I did the backstage tour, and that's when I changed my mind.
But you were scared of it.
Yes,
Wow.
I am a chicken. Okay.
You were
To be
scared
fair.
of a ride that goes
I don't like
2
those things
miles an
popping out
hour.
at you. Not scared of the ride, scared of all the stuff in the ride. Like, ugh.
To be
I would
fair,
have liked
I
it
know.
better if it was a roller coaster and you just flew through everything.
Yeah, that's way
That's
less
actually worse. Sorry, I
scary.
can't defend you on that one. I was gonna say I know a lot of people do that with like Halloween Horror Nights, where they won't be able to go until they do like the behind the house tours. But
I would literally die at Halloween Horror Nights. Like I physically, my heart could not handle that.
I just want to state for the record that I am the type of person that literally used to have nightmares after watching The Walking Dead, and I had a blast at Halloween Horror Nights. So you just
I
have
wanna
to
go so
remind
bad.
yourself constantly that none of it is real and they are not allowed to touch you.
Nope.
And it's so much fun. I went into Halloween Horror Nights thinking, I want to see this, like, I want to step into Stranger Things. I want to see the set of Stranger Things. And I could enjoy the theatricality of it. And I just kept, every time there was a corner, I was like, I'm just going to expect someone to jump out at me so that when it happens, it's not as scary. And that
I
worked
love that
great for
logic.
me. And honestly, the actors can tell if you exude confidence, it's not going to be as fun to scare you. So they don't as much.
Yeah,
I think I got jump scared maybe. I went in almost every like house that they had at Halloween Horror Nights, and I think I actually got genuinely jump scared like 3 or 4 times maybe. Because I was just giving off an air of confidence, and they were like, "Oh well, it's not going to be fun to jump out at her because she's expecting it."
I would cry.
Little did they know I was playing them.
Back to the D23 panel. How likely is Villains Land to come to Magic Kingdom? I think that's a solid 50%.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there like a time limit on this? I mean, in 50 years, very likely. In 10 years, questionable.
I don't think there was one set at all, so
I
I think
could-
it's
No, I'm
fair to just say
saying in the
never.
parameters that we're discussing right now.
Oh no, that's
I would
exactly what I
say
mean. God.
in the next 10 years, I'd give it 50% chance of having ground broken on it, or at least development.
I don't think any of this stuff happens any sooner than 10 years, and that's being generous.
I think the revamp of the parking lot will happen before that.
Yeah, maybe.
But I would say Villains Land, I think that it has like a 70% chance, but it's going to be at least 10 years.
I like your guys' optimism.
I don't feel like that's optimistic. I just feel like they've got
70%? That's pretty good.
But they've got to get some people eaters in there. Like they can tell that demand is not going down no matter how much they raise the prices. And if they keep raising prices, they're going to start getting like a lot of bad publicity. So their only other option is like put more crap in there, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever get a fifth gate. Honestly, I think if Villains becomes a land in Magic, we're literally never going to get a fifth gate. I think that will close the coffin on that.
Yeah, I don't
just
think
like
so either.
Queen Elizabeth.
R.I.P.
Very timely.
I got up at 4:45 to watch her funeral today, so.
I honestly wasn't all that sad about it until I thought about her corgis.
Aww.
Yeah, and they go to the worst
Give them
member
to
of that
me. I'll take
family.
care of them.
But they don't. They're like, where did she go? And that made me
know.
really sad.
And now they have to live with Andrew.
Who's Andrew?
I'm gonna assume one of the princes.
Okay. I thought Kristen would fill us in.
Oh, he's the one who was buddies with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh.
Yeah.
But like, who is he in relation to the queen?
Oh, her child.
Her son?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
You taking
So
notes
wait.
for next time, Beth? Because I'm learning.
I was about to say, the only people in the royal family I know are the ones that they talk about in the media a lot. He's
talked about quite a bit.
Well, I think he's doing his
Jeffrey
damnedest to stay out of the media now.
We'll find some stuff.
Well, yeah, I bet. So, should we talk about some of the international stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely start. I would say let's start with Disneyland because isn't that where they talked about Tiana?
It was, which
So
was kind of surprising because it's like, hey, we didn't get much. Why didn't you present that in ours?
Yeah.
Well, so my thought is that the Tiana stuff was announced for Disneyland because specifically they were getting a little bit more. Like they're getting a shop and a restaurant, right?
That's
Yeah, I
true.
think you're right.
So like I guess they kind of tried to tie it in there. Like they did mention that it's coming to our park too. But it's not coming until 2024. And while we're talking about this, can we talk about the otter that everyone is losing their mind over?
The what?
There
The
is
otter.
an animatronic that was revealed for the attraction that it's an otter with this giant mustache. And it's the cutest thing. I'm sending it to our Facebook chat. He's got like a little violin.
Oh, I do like it.
Oh my god. I want
This is my first experience with him, y'all. I know I've been a very, very bad Disney fan over the course of D23.
That's fine because
that's
the other
the
thing that
cutest
people
thing I've ever seen. Like
Well-
I would trade Eli for that otter.
I love
While
him.
I've broken that one to you, should I tell you the thing that everybody was mad about with Tiana's attraction?
What?
If you look at this concept art that I sent, there is a giant water tower that features a tiara on top of it, and that's what the internet was mad about.
I think it's cute.
I don't think it fits.
I feel like it's subtle enough. Like it's
It
not
feels
like
very Port Orleansy.
I think it's cute.
Well, that makes sense because she's from New Orleans.
Yeah. But the crown is what I think people were mad about.
She's a princess. She can show it off.
Yeah, I don't know. It's neither here nor there for me, but it's just so funny that people were like, that's ugly, and then they showed the otter, and everybody was like, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Okay, so just put the otter on top of the water tower. Guys, it's so easy. They need to hire us. We have so many ideas.
This is also going to be like the Shaman of Songs, isn't it? Like, they show this animatronic off, everybody loves it, and it gets 2 seconds of ride time.
Are they going to have like a B mode for the otter?
You know what I think they
gosh.
should do, honestly, with every ride like that that involves something cutesy, they need to pick the cutest animatronic, make them mini size, and put them on the front of every ride car to be your little like tour guide. Like imagine if every single
like
log
that.
had a little violin playing otter on the front. Like, hello.
Yeah.
He would be adorable. Like every ride car on the Frozen ride needs a little Olaf on the front to give you your tour.
I just sent a photo of the model that they showed, and I think
looks
the crown
way
looks
less gaudy.
better. Yeah, it looks a lot
Yes.
better there.
I was about to say, this is the photo I saw originally, and the one that you just sent with the tiara, and that's when I was like, I thought it was cute. I don't think it's super like out of place looking, and I think that it's, I don't know, subtle enough that if you didn't realize it was a tiara, you might just think it was like wire work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It kind of looks like just like the fence around the top in the second picture. Almost.
Yeah.
It could be.
Are there any specific ones you guys want to talk about for international or Disneyland? Just because I feel like they definitely got a lot more than we did.
Disneyland, I think it's lame that they get Mando and Baby Yoda and we don't, because it's literally like a costume. It's not even hard. And Tokyo, it's making me so like, I want to go to Tokyo so bad, but they keep announcing stuff and I'm like, oh, well, we'll just wait like one more year until that's done. Oh, we'll just wait like one more year until that's done. Like, I'm never going to go because
they're just going to keep waiting.
And they just keep making it even more amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, my one weird thing that I was like, oh, I'm excited for that, but I'm never going to go see it, was like San Francisco in California Adventure. That feels perfect.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Not that I've ever been to Disneyland.
I honestly don't really have any intentions of going anytime soon, but like, cool. It looks like it looks perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say I'm excited that they extended like the 30-year celebration for Disneyland Paris because we will be there next summer, and I'm finally gonna see like a second castle.
Nice.
It'll be during the celebration. So
Nice. Oh, I know what we can talk about.
Oh.
That is
we have a visitor. You wanna say
Give
hi?
us the Haunted Mansion spiel.
Yes, they know you. It's the Disney people.
Eli, come on, man.
Beth and Brian and Mario.
Hi, Eli.
Mario.
Hey.
I heard that you like Haunted Mansion.
Yep.
Can you tell us what they say in the ride?
I remember because you made it.
No, she didn't. What are you talking about?
I did it. Thank you
wanna say-
for the credit.
So for them,
What?
the beginning of Haunted Mansion, remember? Do you want to say it for them?
I know part of it,
Well, say it.
I think.
You want to try?
Welcome, foolish mother. It's not that. Where the air is deathly still. That is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terrors with foolish delights. Welcome, foolish models, to the haunted mansion.
Very good.
That was
Awesome.
incredible.
Nice job. Who's your favorite Imagineer? Do you know?
Roller Crump.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Good choice.
Since he designed all the weird stuff.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
That's awesome. You have good taste.
Good night.
Right. But I don't remember. One thing that's kind of weird is that all the ghosts light up when the room is dark, but not when the room is light. Remember that?
Yeah.
When I said "boo, ghosts" and they didn't hear me,
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
that was funny.
Okay. Good night.
What?
Go. Shoo.
What is that
Shoo. Shoo. Good night. It's nothing. Go away.
Y'all remember when he used to be too shy to come on here and talk to us?
I was just about to say, I want
That
everyone
was
that's listening.
incredible.
I just want everyone to know that's listening that the only goal in doing this podcast for 5 years was that someday Eli can take it over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
My thought that I was good.
I was just going to say, we got to clip out that audio and use it forever.
Yes.
Can we add that to our intro song, please?
Oh, just
I
cut
will
out,
find a way.
cut out the actual foolish mortal
Yes!
thing and put him saying it in there.
That would be amazing.
I probably honestly could.
Put that degree to use, Mario.
Got to do something with it. But the one thing that I did want to talk about, because we're hitting the hour mark here, can we talk about this Elsa animatronic and how we have finally moved away from projection faces?
I feel so gypped when I felt so gypped when I saw this. I was like, wow, that's their Elsa, and ours looks like nightmare fuel half the time.
Yeah.
Oh, because the new one is going to be like a normal face, right? It's not that
Yeah.
crazy screen.
Yeah, it's not
It's gonna be
projected completely.
It's basically the same as the Bell animatronic that they got, and it's got the full fluid motions and everything. I just sent a Twitter link to a Touring's Plans tweet of it. But I'm just happy that we're not doing those projection eye things still. Finally, get away from those.
It's crazy to me too that that's such a complicated technology to implement, and then it doesn't look that great. And you can go kind of back to basics, for an animatronic and have it look so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely looks 10 million times better than the one that we have on Frozen Ever After. And maybe one day, if we're really lucky, they'll just replace those animatronics with the better ones.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. Any final things you guys want to touch on before we wrap it up and give, I guess, final thoughts on D23?
If I'm paying to go next time, it better be better than this.
Right.
No, next time we're gonna get our media passes. All right.
And we're
After
gonna stay
7
at
years?
Grand Californian.
Yep.
I don't know about that one, but after 7 years, I would hope we can get a media pass, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I just jinxed
we're
it,
gonna
now we're
have
not
to
getting
find us a cast member that can get us a discount on the hotel if we're staying in Grand California.
Rent DVC.
Okay.
You got to rent a 2-bedroom, and there's like room for 9 people.
I want club level though.
Okay, well,
Dang, Beth.
beggars can't.
Expensive tastes.
I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it big. I would agree though, Grand California, because they have like a special entrance to the park, right?
Yeah.
Like they have their own dedicated entrance. Yeah, I'm in. I'm gonna be bougie like Kirsten for once.
I'm kind of irritated about my trip next year that I have to be bougie and stay at Grand Floridian again. That sounds
That's
no!
rough.
What
I
a
know.
burden!
I mean,
You poor
it's
thing.
I know. I will say, for me, even more annoying than D23 is all the influencers, like the Disney influencers, who were immediately posting all of the Coco, Encanto, like Moana, all that stuff, like it was legit happening.
Oh my god!
Like, how
Oh my
many
gosh,
Instagram
yeah.
stories did y'all see? Like, Coco's coming to Magic Kingdom, and I'm like, that's not what happened.
There were certain Disney news sites that were also doing that, and I was just like, I needed to actually log off the day of D23 because I was like, I can't handle this.
What's really funny about it is that like half of the ones I saw, I just assumed that they were like clickbait, like fake articles. Then I was just like, oh, that's not like I didn't even realize the blue sky thing had been like a panel, and I was like, wow, these people are really desperate for clicks.
Beth was out here thinking like, oh man, D23 must have really sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It was an underwhelming year. I feel like I said earlier, cruising kind of won on this one, which I don't know. Maybe they needed, maybe they didn't. Maybe they just don't have enough. I'm still thinking that, like Brian said when we talked about the blue sky, that this year it was just there was not enough to do a full panel, and maybe we should have just skipped D23. Honestly, what's funny is it's not even technically the right year. The only reason we're on this year is because of COVID.
Yeah, are they going to skip 2 more years, or are they going to...
They're going to skip 2 more years.
Okay.
From what I heard, the reason that they're doing it is because it's D23 and then Destination D is the in-between. And it was just how it broke up because of the pandemic that, like, they were just like, oh, we'll just give them a D23. So, I don't know. I'm hopeful that next year's better, but we'll see.
Cautiously optimistic is my end vibe. Also, if I do go next time, I'm just going to tell myself that I'm mainly going for the merch.
Honestly, at this point, we have to go next year. Like, or
I'm
next
down.
time. Like, we have to do this, right? This is the third D23 we've reported on. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is the third one.
It's time.
It is time.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.